personal contact. I was 7 or 8 years old when it first happened. And the next, I was 7 or 8. And then I was approximately 10 years old when it had another incident. This is the ranch. And didn't know what it was. This is a squatch. I did hear about the people living at the ranch, working out there, of the paranormal stuff, or the area phenomena, let's put it that way. Nobody knew what it was there too, so it didn't matter. Things didn't matter. If it was Bigfoot, fine, nobody cared. If it was a UFO, fine, nobody cared. We were too busy trying to stay alive.
I had an encounter. The closest encounter, well, I've had them actually closer to me than that occasion, but I was like either inside a tent or inside a car asleep, and I could hear them outside. But on this face-to-face occasion, it was at night, but there was enough light to be able to see this because it was, closer than these cars behind me. And we were at a stakeout because the farmers had said they were coming out of the swamp area. So I went into the swamp area, and it's a long story about like what had happened leading up to it. But there was two of them, and the big one came up from behind and kind of came out of the tree line and was growling at me. And I was just very, very impressed when you have one of these things get that close. And it growled at me until I realized I had to, it was time to leave. So I picked up my stuff and boogied on out of there. But I was thrilled because I had been pursuing these things and trying to have that kind of an encounter that so many people had told me about having. And I was like, I want to run into one of these. It's really hard to fully believe that these things are real until you have that kind of an encounter. It can make sense logically, it makes sense intellectually, because there's all these witnesses, and I had found tracks and I had heard them, but it's like the rational mind won't let you fully accept it until you've got one in front of you growling at you, and then and you never have any kind of nagging doubts.
Okay, and well, my husband came back, like I said, about 7, and I told him what had happened throughout the whole night. And he, quite didn't believe me, and I'm like, no, I'm serious, something came, and I described to him what I saw. I said, that was a Bigfoot. And he was still like in disbelief. And it's like, no, we don't get those, they're only in the mountains, So I thought, let's go walk around the house and see if we can find footprints. So we get back to behind the home, and we found a footprint. And the footprint was probably about like that big, and it had only 3 toes. And it took off, and it ran to the south of us, back into the hills. And that he was surprised. He didn't know what to say.
And of course, nobody cares. But I got it upstairs. You hear it, you see it. I just hang on to it, and then we start learning about it. When I was going through high school, I started learning about it and trying to see it again. Going back out to the ranch. By this time, there's nobody living out there. We go out there and basically work and come back, but we don't see nothing. We hear lots of things, yelling and things like that, but nobody, like I said, nobody really cares about those type of things. You're too busy putting hay up. You're trying to get ready for the winter and all this other good stuff.
And, among the native people, a lot of them, we're not supposed to talk about this, and, be quiet. Some of them believe that's taboo, or some believe that if you see it, you'll die within 7 years. There's just a lot of things about it that, a lot of natives don't, bring out a lot to say.
But there's a heck of a lot of good witnesses out here, so we could spend stuff that goes on all the time. So we could spend a good amount of time out here back. But a trip like this helps us to identify witnesses in areas that we'll concentrate on.
We were only in there because of other reports that have been made. Like a couple was camping in there, and their camp got jostled while they were sleeping inside of a vehicle, and they were terrified and left it. And then there was a bunch of sightings of them in there, even in the daylight. Even as last June, there was somebody saw one coming
Really?
there. So we think they kind of transit through there to get to water sources, and there's cabins around there, so they probably raid the trash of the cabins.
It always makes sense once we get there, like why these creatures would be in the area. There'd be enough cover, and there'd be plenty of animals for them to eat. And very often they were in areas where there was natives around.
You did.
There's a lot, just like today. Listen to Brenda. Everything he says, he gets calls every other day. I was down here, and they call us. I just wait somewhere, and she would call me, let's go, meet me over here. So we hit over there. And there was a gentleman that talked earlier, and he said that the Squatch was right outside his house. So we made a dash down to his place. We got there. Why was a Squatch there? I know why.
Why?
Because there's an apple tree out back.
So
There's probably trash cans that are going to check
anywhere.
there where there's food. They got plenty of water. So they're going to go where there's food. Look for the garbage can at Red Lobster, especially the one in Farmington. Go back there and look
Sure.
for it today.
Okay.
Take a
Right.
picture of it.
I will. Oh,
Where is it?
okay.
It's right next to a steep area like that.
Oh.
And it'll walk right up there and gorge itself and come back down to the river to the thick stuff, and he's gone. That's what you got to start thinking. Get out of your shell. Is you got to start thinking like these things do. Where do I eat? I'm out there with my condition right now. I drive out. I drive out in the woods. We sit there, put our windows down, lay back, and just listen. That's how you start learning these things. You start learning what kind of sounds they make. Do they scream? What do they do out there? What's going on out there? Coyotes making noise? This thing imitates coyotes. Oh, there he is. Okay, listen
Okay.
to this. That is
It's a coyote.
okay. There he is.
Well, it doesn't sound like a coyote.
It's a fox.
Oh, that's a fox.
Perfectly well.
So then how would you know it's a Bigfoot versus one of those animals?
It's not a sharp sound.
It's not as sharp. It's duller or deeper.
Deep.
The brush moving, and it was silent. There weren't any birds chirping, there weren't any, I couldn't hear anything, it was just so quiet. And I just sat and I kept turning around and I kept thinking something or someone is watching me. And then I said, hey, anybody out there? Bushes. And as I looked, I could see like 5 hairs, and they were a reddish color, and I thought, well, it's not a cow, it doesn't look like a cow here, or, those long, woolly goats. It didn't look
Listen
like
to
that.
them make a owl sound. What does an owl sound like? Ooh, 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 ooh. I heard one where the Squatch actually screwed up.
Oh,
And
really?
he said, ooh, 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 ooh.
Get higher.
Yes. So you know that wasn't an owl.
Right.
I went, ugh. Here's a sound that everybody says is Squatch. The experts will go out there and say, oh, that's a Squatch. Is that a Squatch?
I don't know.
It's a porcupine. skunk.
to them.
Wow. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, it is. You know, a lot of people think now. Some of them think that Bigfoot's nice, and you know, we try to interact and talk with it. And I'm like against the talking with them because you don't know. We don't know, as researchers, we don't know what their true intentions are. You know, they could turn on us at any time.
They're a wild animal.
Yeah, so we don't know.
Right.
Why are they doing that? I don't know. You know, nobody hasn't given me a definite answer yet.
Right.
Why do they want the women? Why do they want the kids? You know, to me that's still, and I can't answer that. Not just yet until I find and actually follow them to see what they're doing. You know, then I'll have my answer. They're very curious things, you know, they want to know what we're doing. They also like to hear the laughter, the music. That also draws them, if you're having a cookout outside, the smell of the food that draws them in also. Ladies, I always tell them to be really careful because they like to observe the women, also the little kids too. So I tell them to always be with someone. Try to be in a crowd if you have to be, you know, outside. Bring someone else out there with you. I always try to prefer them bring a male out there with you. That way, they'll see that you have a male person with you. Why do they want the kids? I don't know. You know, that's kind of a mystery to me. I'm like, what does it want? Is it because they have young ones too? Do they want them to interact with their young ones? I don't know.
You thought that?
You got to think from that point of view, and then you got to do it constantly. Then you'll be able to see one.